Omalara moved gracefully through the crowded hall, as the sound of drums and laughter filled the evening air. Her family had gathered in Lagos for a special celebration, and everyone looked dazzling in colorful outfits. At 25, she was admired for her gentle spirit and kindness, yet whispers always followed her. Many saw her unmarried status as a failure, and tonight the stares and mutters grew heavier on her shoulders. She smiled politely, pouring drinks for elders and greeting guests with warmth, though inside her heart tightened. Her aunt Morinkeji, known for her sharp tongue, could not resist turning attention toward her. With a loud voice, she mocked Omalara, calling her leftover, before everyone. The guests burst into cruel laughter, some covering their mouths as though ashamed, but their eyes sparkled with gossip. Omalara stood frozen, the words slicing through her like a knife. Her cousins leaned toward each other, whispering that she spent too much time with books, that she lacked beauty or charm to win a husband. Their voices mixed with her aunt's comparisons to younger cousins who had already married, making the humiliation sting even deeper. Omalara wanted to cry, but she chose silence. Instead of answering insults, she lifted trays of food, bowing gently to elders and keeping her head high. Her dignity spoke louder than any argument, though inside she remembered the many lonely nights when she wondered if she truly was enough. She carried herself with calmness, even while her heart hid tears. Suddenly, the entire hall shifted. The doors opened, and in walked Adideo, a confident young man in a sharp suit. Conversation stopped, all eyes turning toward him. No one expected his presence, least of all those who mocked Omalara. He walked straight to her, his gaze soft, his tone filled with affection as he called her my future wife. Gasps filled the air, jaws dropped in disbelief. Morinkeji's face turned red as she struggled to form words. The same relatives who sneered now clapped awkwardly, trying to change their tune. Then Adideo thanked Omalara for standing with him during his toughest years, his voice full of pride. Without hesitation, he knelt in front of everyone, opening a small box with a sparkling ring. The room erupted in shock, cheers rising louder than the drums. Omalara's eyes glistened, but she did not boast. With calm strength she spoke, reminding everyone never to measure a woman's value by marriage alone, but by her character. Applause thundered through the hall, while her aunt bowed her head in shame, unable to meet her gaze. Her aunt Morinkeji, a sharp-tongued woman who always enjoyed being the center of attention, suddenly raised her voice so everyone could hear. With a smirk curling at the edge of her lips, she looked directly at Omalara and sneered, calling her leftover. The word hung in the air like a slap. For a moment, the room went quiet, then laughter broke out, loud and cutting. Some people laughed with open mouths, others tried to cover their faces, but the mocking sound spread across the hall like fire. Omalara stood still, her heart pounding, her cheeks burning as though the walls themselves were closing in. She forced a small smile, but inside, shame wrapped tightly around her chest. Every giggle, every pointed look made her feel smaller, like she did not belong among her own blood. Morinkeji went on, shaking her head dramatically, enjoying the crowd's reaction as if her cruelty were entertainment. The sting of the words cut deeper because they came from family, people who should protect, not destroy. The whispers started to rise again. Cousins leaned toward one another, murmuring that Omalara wasted her years on books and never learned how to catch a husband. Some chuckled that she was too quiet, too serious, not exciting enough for any man to want. The laughter mixed with the sharp scent of jollof rice and grilled meat in the air, making the celebration feel bitter instead of sweet. It was supposed to be a day of joy, yet for her, it turned into a stage of humiliation. Omalara's throat tightened, but she refused to let tears fall in front of those who wanted to see her break. She lifted her chin slightly, pretending not to hear the cruel remarks, though each word pierced like a needle. Her hands trembled as she carried a tray to the elders, her dignity the only shield she had. In her silence, she tried to hide the storm raging inside her heart. As the laughter slowly faded, the tension in the air grew heavier. The guests who once laughed began to sense the discomfort, though no one dared to speak against Morinkeji. The damage was already done, and Omalara's humiliation had become the evening's cruel spectacle. Yet in her quiet strength, there was a spark that no insult could put out, a spark waiting for the right moment to shine. Cousins whisper she's too focused on books, not attractive enough for marriage. Their voices are low but sharp enough to reach Omalara's ears, slicing into her confidence. They exchange sly looks, covering their mouths with hands as though sharing secrets, but they want her to hear. Some roll their eyes and shake their heads, saying a woman like her wastes time with studies instead of chasing love. Others giggle that she dresses too modestly, that her quiet ways make her invisible. Their judgment feels endless, each word adding weight to the shame already pressed on her shoulders. Morinkeji, enjoying the moment, leans forward with pride and raises her voice so the room can catch every word. She gestures toward the younger cousins sitting nearby, smiling with satisfaction as she praises their beauty, their husbands, and their new lives as wives. She says loudly that Omalara should learn from them, that at her age she should already have a man beside her, not empty hands. She points out how even teenagers in the family are preparing for marriage while Omalara remains alone. The cruel comparisons echo through the hall, each sentence designed to make her feel like less. Omalara lowers her gaze, trying not to meet anyone's eyes. She feels the sting, the burn of humiliation spreading across her chest. Every laugh, every snicker makes her body tremble, though she forces herself to remain calm. She cannot believe her own aunt would use her as an example to entertain the crowd. The music in the background feels faint now, swallowed by the heavy rhythm of gossip and mockery. The cousins whisper again, saying she is too serious, that men want lively women, not someone who lives in books. One cousin smirks and whispers that she will end up alone. Another nods in agreement as though her future is already doomed. Omalara bites the inside of her cheek, determined not to let a tear fall, even as the cruelty around her grows sharper. The hall that once felt festive now feels like a cage, with eyes staring, words striking, and laughter filling the air. Morinkeji folds her arms, satisfied with the damage she has caused, while the cousins continue their whispers like knives in the dark. Omalara stands quietly, carrying her pain in silence. Yet somewhere deep within, a quiet fire begins to build, waiting for the moment when truth will silence every cruel tongue. Instead of arguing, she calmly helps serve food and takes care of elders, showing dignity. With a soft smile, Omalara balances trays filled with steaming dishes, offering plates to uncles and aunties who sit waiting. She bends slightly, greeting them with respect, pouring drinks into glasses, and making sure no elder is left unattended. Her hands move with grace, her steps steady, her voice gentle, even though the sting of mockery still lingers in her chest. Every action shines brighter than the cruel words thrown at her, showing a quiet strength that no insult can erase. The room buzzes with laughter and chatter, but Omalara keeps her focus on kindness. She kneels beside an old grandmother, adjusting her wrapper so she sits comfortably. She hands over a spoon to a small child, making sure he eats without spilling. No bitterness shows on her face, though her heart is heavy. She acts like nothing is wrong, hiding the storm inside her. Her calm presence fills the space with a kind of beauty that none of her critics can see, because they are too busy looking only at her ringless finger. But deep within, she hides tears. Her chest tightens as she remembers long nights of struggle, praying for answers while others mocked her path. She recalls the time she sacrificed her own comfort to support family members, only to be repaid with scorn. The words left over, and unwanted, echo in her mind, reopening wounds she thought had healed. She wants to scream, but instead, she chooses silence, knowing her dignity is her armor. She moves from table to table, offering food with a steady hand, yet every smile she gives is a mask. She remembers the rejection letters from jobs, the weight of caring for her mother alone, the sacrifices she made while others laughed at her choices. These memories sit quietly in her heart, but she refuses to let them show on her face. She knows that answering insults with anger would only feed the cruelty, so she holds on to patience instead. Though no one notices it now, her silence is not weakness, it is power waiting to reveal itself. In that hall full of mocking eyes, Omalara carries her pain like a hidden jewel, shining only when the right moment comes, a moment that will turn every insult into regret. The room falls silent when Adideo, a successful young entrepreneur, arrives in a sharp suit. His presence carries power, and the sound of his polished shoes against the tiled floor cuts through the noise of music and chatter. Heads turn immediately, whispers ripple across the hall, and curious eyes widen at the unexpected visitor. His confident stride and calm expression command attention, and even the children stop running to watch him. The festive energy shifts in an instant, replaced with tension thick enough to feel in the air. No one knew Omalara had a fiancé, and the shock spreads like fire. Relatives exchange quick glances, mouths parting in disbelief. Guests who moments before laughed at her now stare, as if they are seeing her for the very first time. Her cousins freeze mid-sentence, unable to continue their cruel whispers. Even Morinkeji, who had filled the hall with ridicule, blinks in confusion, her tongue suddenly heavy. The proud smirk on her face fades as she studies the man heading straight toward the very niece she had called leftover. Adedayo's eyes find Omalara immediately, and the warmth in his gaze softens the heavy moment. He does not hesitate or slow his steps, moving through the crowd with purpose. His sharp suit glimmers under the lights, his presence a reminder that success does not need to shout to be seen. As he reaches her, silence deepens, every ear straining to catch what he might say. The air is thick with suspense, the mocking laughter now replaced with anticipation. Omalara stands still, her breath catching in her chest. She had carried her shame silently, but now all eyes are on her for a different reason. Adedayo stops directly in front of her, his hand gently brushing hers, his voice firm yet tender as he greets her with affection. The words carry weight, shaking the foundation of every cruel remark spoken against her earlier. The hall remains frozen, jaws tight, hearts racing, as realization sinks in. The woman mocked as unwanted is the very one chosen by a man admired and respected in society. Morinkeji's face pales, her eyes darting around the room, searching for an escape from the humiliation now wrapping tightly around her. The sudden entrance has changed everything, and the night is no longer about shame. It is about a revelation no one saw coming. Adedayo greets Omalara with deep respect and affection, calling her, "my future wife." His voice is steady, filled with pride, and every person in the hall hears it clearly. For a moment, time seems to stop. The words float in the air, heavy and powerful, washing away the cruel laughter that had filled the room earlier. Omalara's eyes widen, her lips part slightly, as if even she cannot believe he has spoken those words so openly in front of everyone. His hand rests gently on hers, his gaze fixed on her with warmth, making it clear that his love is not hidden, not ashamed, but strong enough to declare before all. Gasps spread through the crowd like a wave. One by one, mouths fall open, hands fly to cover shocked faces, and murmurs ripple across the hall. Guests whisper quickly, some leaning forward, straining to see the couple closer, others shaking their heads in disbelief. The same cousins who mocked her minutes ago now sit frozen, their earlier words burning in their throats. Their whispers of rejection turn into silence, replaced with envy and confusion. The elders exchange glances, eyebrows raised, nodding slowly in surprise at the young man's boldness. Women at the back clap their hands against their chests, whispering that such devotion is rare. Men lean forward, impressed by his confidence, some even smiling. The energy in the room shifts completely, moving from ridicule to admiration, from gossip to respect. Omalara feels her knees weaken, her chest trembling with emotion. For so long, she carried humiliation in silence, but now the truth stands before her in flesh and blood. She tries to speak, but no words escape. Instead, her eyes glisten with tears she can no longer hide. Adedayo looks at her with tenderness, brushing her hand again as though to steady her heart. Morinkeji stares, her face drained of color. The same aunt who mocked so loudly cannot form a single word now. She shifts uncomfortably in her seat, eyes darting from one guest to another as the weight of shame presses down on her. The hall erupts into low chatter, disbelief turning into excitement. Everyone who once laughed now sits astonished. The revelation has shaken the entire gathering, turning the woman they mocked into the center of admiration. Omalara, once called leftover, now stands honored, her name spoken with love that silences every cruel tongue. Morinkeji stumbles over her words red-faced. Her lips part as if she wants to speak, but nothing clear comes out. She coughs lightly, forces a laugh, then waves her hand as though trying to dismiss what just happened. But her act fools no one. The very people who had joined her in mocking Omalara now turn their eyes on her, their whispers sharp and merciless. Her earlier pride melts away, replaced with shame that burns hotter than fire. Guests whisper about her cruelty now backfiring. Some shake their heads, saying it serves her right for mocking someone so openly. Others exchange smirks, enjoying the sight of the woman who always spoke too loudly now silenced by her own arrogance. A few cover their mouths, whispering that she pushed too far. And now the humiliation she meant for her niece has returned to her tenfold. Laughter no longer echoes for her jokes. Instead, it has turned into murmurs of disapproval. She shifts uncomfortably in her seat, tugging at her wrapper, glancing around the hall for support. But no one rises to defend her. Even her favorite nieces and nephews avoid her gaze, embarrassed to be linked with her cruelty. The sharp confidence that once filled her voice is gone, replaced by a nervous trembling she cannot control. The glow of the evening light seems harsher now, exposing her humiliation for all to see. Omalara, still standing calmly, does not utter a single word against her aunt. Her silence only deepens Morinkeji's discomfort. The contrast is clear. Where Omalara shows quiet dignity, Morinkeji crumbles under the weight of her own words. Relatives glance back and forth between them, their eyes reflecting the shift in power. The chatter grows louder, spreading like waves across the hall. Some laugh softly at the irony, others shake their heads in pity, but all agree the tables have turned. The aunt who once held the crowd with her tongue now finds herself trapped in the very shame she built for another. Morinkeji lowers her head, cheeks burning, wishing the ground would swallow her. Every whisper around her feels like a slap, every stare a reminder that she has lost face before her family. The proud woman who mocked Omalara is now the one mocked herself, and no excuse can save her from the sting of her downfall. Adideo thanks her for standing by him during tough times. His voice is steady but filled with emotion, carrying across the hall so that no one misses a word. He tells them how Omalara supported him when he had nothing, how she gave him courage when the world doubted him, how she stood by his side when others turned away. Every sentence strikes the listeners like a lesson, each word painting a picture of loyalty and love stronger than wealth or status. The crowd leans closer, their eyes fixed on him, their hearts moved by the story they never knew. Omalara feels her chest tighten as his words wash over her. Tears fill her eyes, but this time they are not born of pain. They come from pride, from the joy of finally being seen for who she truly is. She lowers her head, overwhelmed, while her hand trembles in his. Around them, guests murmur in admiration, their faces softening, their earlier cruelty turning into quiet respect. Then, without warning, Adideo takes a step back, drops to one knee, and opens a small box. The sight of the glittering ring inside sends a wave of gasps through the hall. Some people cover their mouths, others clap their hands against their cheeks, while the children squeal with excitement. The entire room erupts in shock, the moment greater than anything they imagined. The man everyone admired is not only her partner, but ready to make her his wife before their very eyes. The cousins who mocked her sit frozen, unable to speak. Their whispers of doubt are replaced by stunned silence. Morinkeji, who had once laughed so loudly, grips the edge of her chair, her face drained of color as the reality of her downfall becomes clearer. The very niece she shamed now shines at the center of admiration, her worth displayed for all to see. Omalara covers her mouth with her hand, unable to stop her tears from falling. She looks down at Adideo, her heart racing, her world spinning, and for the first time that evening, she feels truly free. The hall that once echoed with mockery now bursts with applause and cheers. The girl who stood silently with dignity is now the woman everyone celebrates, her moment brighter than any insult could ever dim. Relatives who mocked her now clap and try to smile, pretending to be supportive. Their hands meet in weak applause, their faces stretched into forced grins that cannot hide the truth. Moments ago, their voices carried whispers of scorn, but now they try to rewrite their roles, acting as though they had always believed in her. Some rush forward, hugging her with fake enthusiasm, while others nod quickly, repeating words of praise that sound hollow. The shift is sudden, but Omalara feels it in her bones. She knows their hearts have not changed, they are only chasing the glow of her moment. The same cousins who whispered that she was too serious now shower her with compliments, telling her how beautiful she looks, how lucky she is to have a man like Adideo. Their words drip with insincerity, yet they hope no one notices. A few even boast to others about being close to her, desperate to link themselves with her rising honor. The energy in the hall is no longer cruel but desperate, a scramble to erase the shame of their earlier behavior. Morinkeji is forced to swallow her pride. Her lips twitch as if searching for the right words, but nothing she says can undo the humiliation of being proven wrong before so many witnesses. Her eyes lower, unable to meet Omalara's, and her voice trembles as she mutters weak blessings under her breath. For a woman who always spoke with fire, the silence of her defeat is louder than any insult she once gave. The crowd does not forget her mockery, and their glances remind her of her downfall. Omalara, standing in the center of it all, feels the weight of the shift. For years, she carried pain quietly, but now those who mocked her line up to praise her. Yet she does not gloat or push them away. Her calmness only makes their fake support more obvious. The applause grows louder, not out of love, but out of guilt and the fear of being remembered as cruel when history retells this night. In that hall, the tables turn completely. The once silent woman shines while those who laughed at her scramble to hide their shame. And in the middle of it all, her aunt, once bold and sharp, sits red-faced, realizing too late that every cruel word she spoke has returned to crush her. Never measure a woman's worth by her ring. Character is greater than gossip. Omalara's voice rings out strong and steady, echoing through the hall. The words silence every whisper, cutting through the crowd with truth that cannot be denied. Her face glows with dignity, her eyes shining not with pride, but with grace. She does not raise her tone, she does not boast, she simply speaks from her heart. And the hall listens with rapt attention. For a moment, there is complete stillness. Then the sound of clapping begins, soft at first, then louder, building into a thunderous wave of applause. Guests rise from their seats, cheering her courage, their hands slapping together with genuine respect. Some even wipe tears from their eyes, moved by the strength of a woman who endured so much humiliation only to answer with wisdom instead of anger. The same hall that once echoed with laughter at her expense now roars with admiration for her grace. Adideo looks at her with deep pride, his eyes glowing with love, as though her words only confirm what he has always known, that she is far more than the cruelty thrown at her. The elders nod their heads slowly, their faces reflecting respect, whispering that her character is what makes her truly priceless. Even the children look up at her, their young minds learning a lesson that will stay with them forever. Morinkeji sits stiffly, her head lowered, her face burning with shame. The aunt who once mocked so boldly now finds herself powerless, trapped by the weight of her own actions. She cannot raise her eyes to meet Omalara's, not after the truth has been spoken so clearly. Her silence speaks louder than words, and her bowed head is her only answer. Omalara does not gloat. She does not seek revenge. She simply allows the moment to speak for itself, her quiet strength shining brighter than jewels, her wisdom leaving an imprint on every heart in that hall. In that powerful ending, the tables are fully turned, not through anger or insults, but through truth and dignity. Bastias. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe. Bye.